Um, well, today's topic will be talking about, I know we have like more of agents, number sitting here, but definitely we'll get something positive out of these sessions. I'll try to wind up in next 15-20 minutes. But it will give you an idea how the Australian migration program actually works and what proportion goes to the skill visas, and out of it, what number goes to the trade occupations, which is your main target market, right? So, and which occupations are better, I mean, in terms of getting a permanent residency in Australia. So I'll give you some actual data, which is in the pipeline, right? So okay, let's start with migration program planning level 2023. So it's a process. During the budget session, the government announced like where they allocate their budget. So same way, what number they are expecting in the coming year. So basically, people come here, they settle down, they earn here, they spend here. That's how the economy works, right? So the good news is they have, the planning level is 160K, and which is probably the same number they have earlier as well, right? Gone are the days when it was 190K, when Abul Rizvi, he was a deputy secretary, now he's doing PhD on Australian population. When he was the director, he used to manage it very properly. So the word was, that's the number, the target. But now the government, they just give a word, occupation ceiling, right? So, okay, so 160, out of which almost 110K goes to skill. That's where your market is, right? You have students. Obviously, my personal experience, if someone wants to actually study and wants to go to a country, they'll probably pick up maybe UK, US, right? Mine, the people I have dealt with, almost 90% people, they come here for permanent residency. And, department may pretend, but they know actually that's what the students are here for. So they have that GT statement and all that sort of formality, right? Because people started blaming them if you are not going to give us permanent residency, then why we spend so much money? And then they introduced one more thing. You have to sign a GT statement, right? So that your purpose is just to study in Australia and go back. Although they always acknowledge if you can apply for skill visas, obviously you are more than welcome to do that. So good thing is 110K places. The next one is family, which is 50K, and special eligibility is 100 places only. And if you're wondering what these 100 people are, there would be many people who got their permanent residency in Australia, but for every 5 years you have to stay at least 2 years, right? Or you must have like business ties if you want to call Australia home. So if you lose your permanent residency, that's where they fit with 100 places. Okay, so it's economy recovery, we know that. I mean, the economy is really in a bad shape, and the government has really messed it up. So, the good thing about 2022-23 is it's back where it used to be. So 2/3 for the skill visas and 1/3 for the family visas. So last year, why I'm saying that, because last year it was half and half, because there were not many people coming from overseas because of pandemic. So they started, okay, let's give visas to partners. So because there was a big pipeline, right? So it's back. That's my prediction is next 2 years is gonna be very easy for the students, right? But they have to choose wisely the courses, the place, right? And it will definitely land them somewhere. Okay, so that's family. So partner visa, demand driven, from 70 to 300 to reduce to 40,000. That's where they have cut the number and put back into 109. Okay, so let's talk about only, okay, skill. That's where the magic is. So skill stream. So in skill stream we have employer sponsored visas, which is like 186 permanent visa. We have skill independent 189 visa. Then regional migration 491. Then state nominated 190 visa. Then obviously then business investment, which are out of scope of today's discussion. But if you look like employer sponsored, this next year it's going to be 8,000 more. Skill independent, that's where the government actually messed up. If a student, I have many clients who are sitting on 100 points. Like they have 8 each, they have done professional year, they have done NATI, they have studied master degree, they have done almost everything which they could, but that's the number. It was 6,500 last year, but I'll show you the actual picture. So this year, good news, 10,000 more. That's again give a boost to especially master's or bachelor level students in higher sector. Then we have regional. We have 13,800 more. So that's future belongs to regional. So that's my advice to every student. If they choose a state wisely, an occupation wisely, and they work in their field, there is no way they won't get permanent residency. Okay, so state territory, which is 190, permanent visa again, 8,800 more. So if we sum up, so 30,300 more this in the coming year, right? So that's a good news, because they once bitten, twice shy. So the government has really messed up. There is a the worker shortage crunch. I don't know, but especially many of our clients, especially in hospitality, they're thinking of like closing the operation if any of the students they currently have move some regional or some other state. All right. Which visas in 2023, the coming year? Regional visas, so places doubled from 11,200 to 25, more than doubled, right? So that's where the future is. 190, so 11,000 to 20,000 more. Then the government has renewed emphasis on 189 visa, which is more than 10,000. So this is gonna be 2023. All right, now let's talk about your market, trade, occupations, right? So any occupation in Australian qualification framework, which gives you a Cert 3 level qualification in major group 3. What is major group 3? Take any NSCO code for example, like maybe chef, I think is 3513, something like that. So if it starts with 3, most probably it's a trade. So 1, if any occupation starts with, usually all occupations have 6-digit code. If it starts with 1, it's a manager level. If it's 2, like accountant IT, it's professional level. If it's 3, then it's a trade course. Okay, so usually, so usually the trade share of total skill migration program is 15 to 17%. That's what it has been for many, many years. So let's say if they have 110,000, let's say 110 grand of skill total visas, then 50 to 17%, which will be around 18,000 places for just tradies. So trade also have technicians as well, like civil engineering technicians, right? So you'll see that's such a big, it may seem a small chunk, but if you look at the previous data, okay, in 2018 to 19, it was 7,680 places, right? In 2019-20, it was 7,473 places. So if they give 15 to 17% this year. This number will almost get double. So please.
Sorry.
So this should be double. So that's the trade share of total skill migration. So basically now this is an interesting slide. So it will give an idea to all those students who are staying in Melbourne or Sydney and just looking for 189 visa based on their trade qualification, right? So it will be an eye opener. So basically, so this is the 2018 to 19, 19 to 20. If you look at trade, occupation, that's the employer-sponsored visas, how the people of that number, how many of that PR, then 4,000 is through the employer-sponsored. Only 45 is the number for 189 visas given to trades in last two, 18 to 19, right? And if you compare it with 19 to 20, it was 224 only, skill independent, right? So that's how the tradies usually get their PR through either through an employer or choosing a state wisely or through a regional visa. So let's move to next slide. So this sort of last year's migration program years, which shows skilled employer-sponsored visas, what occupations were there. So cooks, and then we have hairdressers, baker, and pastry cooks who got their permanent residency through trade, right? If we talk about subclass 491, which is a provisional visa down, so there were like chef was the only occupation. The rest of them went to nurses because pandemic is not, we are not living in the same world. Right? So last 2 years, it was basically, in COVID recovery, so medical occupations. All right, that's only regional category. What occupations? So basically, cooks and chefs were there, right? So if you just, it will give you a fair bit of idea which occupations are gonna be on the list forever. So basically, cooks and chefs, even in regional, if we talk about regional, and let's have a look at the back in 2019-20, we had occupations like cooks, chefs, cafe restaurant managers, motor mechanics. That's the total number of number of visas given in to the occupations. All right, so skill independent, for those who know, it's purely a point-based visa. When you talk about like accountants went on 100 points, engineers on 95 points, so they usually, so please, so have a seat. So usually they're talking about 189 visa, so it's the most beneficial. It's issued by the federal government. The states have no rules. Anyone who got 189 visa can stay anywhere in Australia, right? So most, and then 491 family sponsored. Whenever we talk about skill select invitation round, so they issue visas in these two categories. 491 has two streams. One is regional, state sponsored. Other one is family sponsored. So if you have a cousin living or an uncle or brother, sister living in regional area, then and your occupation is on the main list, for example, chef, motor mechanic, painters, they are on main list, then you can also target 491 visa. And on what point, because last year I don't think they gave any invitation to trade in these streams, family sponsored or 189, but in future when things settle down, we are expecting more invitations in these occupations. All right, so but the good news is, that's what I was talking about. 65, they said, quota for 189, out of which half of probably goes to New Zealand, because New Zealanders also have the same point-based visa, 189, right? Out of which July round only 250 rounds, October round 200, January round 200. So this is just a mere and eye wash, what I would say. That's why Australia is losing its credibility in international students. You choose a country like Canada, obviously. People are seeing two friends, one came to Australia, other one went to Canada. The one is still struggling on TR, but the Canadian one already got his PR. So because if the government restores this 189 visa, because students don't have to rely on any employer who usually exploit them, right? They can stay wherever they want. They can study in Melbourne, Sydney, that's their favorite destination. But if 189 goes back to 10,000 more spaces, and people, students get, let's say, even chef, auto mechanics, they keeps on getting 189, it will restore the faith in Australian visa system again. And that's what I think the government is planning over next 2 or 3 years. So I'm very hopeful for next 3 years. It's gonna be good for migrants because they have seen what the actual skill shortage feels like. Okay, so target surplus for trade occupation, I've already told. State nominated 190. For example, if you have 16 points of I can give you examples in the last 2 or 3 months. Tasmania, 65 points, motor mechanic. He was working with Toyota, 190. South Australia painter, and 60 plus 5, I think 65 plus 5, 70. Bank within 4 days, the nomination was approved, right? So, state nominated if you choose a state wisely. So this is the visa, 190. Then you have skilled work regional, because the government is actually forcing migrants to take this pathway, 491. First, I still have an accountant visa lodged in, I think, more than 2 years ago, right? And then it will be granted for, let's say, 5 years. So 2 years she has already stayed in regional. Once she gets visa, she will stay another 3 years over there. So this way, 5 years, if you staying at one place, obviously you will call it home. So that's what the government is pushing all future migrants towards 491 regional, right? But I think they can manage it well. Like you get 491 quickly, you stay, you meet the requirements quickly. They lower down, let's say, instead of 54 grants, which is the requirement for getting a PR after 3 years, if they reduce it to regional level, let's say 45 grants, maybe Australia again will have faith in this visa system. All right. Then 494, it's for regional employers. There are many occupations which are not on 482 list, which are not on 186 list, right? So those students, if they're working in regional, they can look for 494 visa. So 494, almost all occupations are on that list, right? Okay, then temporary skilled TSS visa, 482, which requires 2 years experience. So that's how people usually get on. Once they finish, let's say they're student, then gain 2 years experience. After finishing their study, they get on to, after TR, they get on to employer-sponsored visa, right? And then employer nomination scheme, that's 186, you've got 3 years experience, right? So this is, the government is mainly focusing on this, because if you have an employer, obviously, you have more chances, you have a German job, you can contribute to the economy, right? And then finally, SWR 491, that's a family sponsored, right? So these are the visas the trade applicants can look for. If they rely on 189, I don't think future is great. So that's, we talked about 190 or 491, so that's the quota given to the different states. So the federal government has no role in that. States decide to whom they want to give the nomination, and it changes very fast. For example, 15 days back, we had a painter who got essay nomination. After his nomination, we checked the list again, and the occupation was gone from there, right? So it keeps on changing, very dynamic. The best system, I think, in Australia, it's ACT. They have the best system. Even during COVID, they just keep giving nominations, so it's more reliable. So basically, that's the quota. How much? So New South Wales has the maximum, then ACT, then Victoria. So sort of that's the total number of quota, and it will give you just an idea. Okay, state visas. So the government, the states can nominate from 190, 491, and business visas, and all states they have their own requirement, right? So, for example, South Australia, if you're working in regional for 6 months, you nominate your occupation, it can give you 190. If you're working in Tasmania in regional or regional, you can get 190. Otherwise, they will give you 491. Okay. So, which occupation is better? So I have collected some data. So the number of permanent residence application till 31st of Jan 2022 will give an idea like how many invitations were sent and how many applications are in pipeline. So basically, motor mechanic 208, then we have all these other occupations. So more applications in pipeline, which means more invitations were sent. Because 190 or 491 we say you can only apply if you have been nominated by any state, right? So same, then bakers, chef is the maximum, right? That's the reason, because chef and cook, when we were at in 2006, every person used to talk about that they will remove the chef from the list. But according to me, it can never happen. Working at a temperature of 50 degrees Celsius in a kitchen and be consistent every single time, because for you, it's just an experience. You'll go, you have heard about any restaurant, and you'll go once there. If the food is good, you'll come back and again and recommend to many people, right? But for chef, you are just a customer, but for you, it's one experience which will decide whether you will go back there or not, right? So as soon as my clients get their 186 visa, next week, they'll get back to Uber, taxi, trucks, right? So the number of people coming and leaving that industry as soon as they get residency is very high. So I don't think these occupations, and if I have to recommend what occupation you will suggest, I'll probably suggest chef to anyone. But sometimes if you're a chef in Adelaide, maybe it won't make much sense, because after all, it's demand and supply, right? But you have to choose one state. But anywhere for employer-sponsored visas, chef is gonna be best bet. 491 applications on hand. Motor mechanic, they got big chunk, right? But if you look and again at chef, again 1103. That's the applications on hand till 31st of March, right? So, which means more invitations for these occupations. Then continues, then we have some cooks, then hairdressers, then fitter. So these are the occupations which are a big hit. Now, getting permanent residency to an employer for working 3 years. If you look at that data, you will see many motor mechanic, carpenter, even cooks. All right. So now which strategy to follow for the trade occupations? Well, my generic advice to all, if you have cousin, brother, sister living in regional, better choose a regional education provider, live there and work there. Because you'll see after July, you'll see more invitation coming for 491 family sponsored visas. So that could be one. And second, get working in your field. The biggest mistake students make is they don't work in their field. Because I think Siddharth is a very trained chef sitting right there, and he had like maybe 10 jobs in his hand, and he was getting like the best of the offers from the employers. So if you stay in your, as soon as you start your course, just get into your field. Because by the time you finish your study, you will have at least 2 years of experience for 482 visa. Right? Then you have TR to get some more experience. The moment you hit 3 years, you can get 186. And in hospitality or in construction, there are many employers who will do anything for you because all they want is your level in the body. And finally, choose state, regional area to make eligibility for 190 or 91. So because if you're staying in, let's say, Tasmania, out regional, nothing is stopping you from getting 189 in white if they send. Right? So you can target 189. 189 goes to offshore applicants as well. So if you're in regional, you can get 189 there. Otherwise, you will be in race for 190 and 491. And finally, that's based on my personal experience. Even if you're a chef, you're a painter, I've seen people who have been picked or nominated by states, they were having that proficient English. Because it's easier. The state thinks if you have good English, obviously, it's good to you can get the employment easily. So that's all from me. And any queries, more than welcome. What about clapping? Thanks for your questions.
The only question I have is, what is the difference between chef and a cook when you apply for the visa?
Level of qualification. So Cert 3 will get you a cook assessment, and for chef you need to have at least Cert 4. From skill assessment point of view, from NSPO level, for cook you need to have Cert 4, right? For chef diploma. So it's the level of qualification and duties. For example, cook and chef, obviously they will be doing both jobs. Basic job is preparing meal, dishes, that's it, right? But chef is a bit level up, so they will plan menus, they will make rosters, right? And they will manage the kitchen. So these are the differences. So next level is, and from other point of view, chef is on the low list, cook is on the short list, right? So yeah, if you are a trainee, you have to have a Cert 4 qualification, at least diploma, so that you have a skill assessment. Because if it's on main list, only then you get your 2 years TR, otherwise no. That's why TRA usually gives you both cook and chef assessment, right? But for chef, you need to have a Cert 4. Any other things? Or it's beer time.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Navneet ji.
everyone. Thank you.
And you can have one-on-one sessions with Navneet ji for your case, and you can also speak to colleges regarding the trade courses you are interested in. You can get to know more about it, and we'll carry it forward to the next room. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. अभी काम तो नहीं है ना, कहाँ पे? मैं उस पे आया हूँ। वैसे घूम जाओ ना हाँ जी सर हाँ जी शायद सर
हाँ जी हाँ जी
ठीक हो
ठीक ठाक
लेट्स हैव फूड
ओके थैंक यू